You need to go over in front of everybody. And everybody needs to be participating in it, not just me. I'm not responsible. You need a project manager on this job. That is not my decision. I'm not a decision maker. You're not gonna tell me I'm supposed to make the decision on that. I'm not supposed to make a decision on that.
Mr. Mayor, I will add to my answer. All you're doing is asking the fiscal officer to verify where the funds might be and where they can come from. The fiscal officer's not making the decision. But you have to only get that number from the fiscal officer.
I can't give you a number. You guys have to do the budget. You stated there was money in there, Mr. Wolf. Where's the money?
We had it in the budget, you struck
Okay,
it.
so why are you telling me that I'm supposed to do when you know that it's in there?
Because we spent about 18 hours doing budget work prior to the meeting.
Okay, then you should know where the money is.
Trustees, I'm not going to. The fiscal officer is responsible for all records and all financial to give you an accurate number.
Well, then you
That
need to
is
stay
not
out of
my
my
position.
business. Well, if that's my responsibility, you need to stay out of it.
Okay, my question is, can we go over the financial and come up with a line item? Funds out of, or not?
Gentlemen, this is silly. We didn't put out RFPs for fire trucks to come to this point where there's a question of whether or not the funding was. In other words, are you willing to cooperate with the process, or are you gonna stand in the way of this community getting a new fire truck?
Trustee McGuire, if you would do your job and approving a budget that can fit your expenditure, then maybe you would have money in the budget to pay for the items. So do not try to blame your faults on me.
So you're saying the money's
Now,
not
I said what
good?
I said, and that is all that needs to be discussed.
Okay. Well, trustees, we look very stupid due to the lack of cooperation on this fiscal officer. All right, next on the agenda, we got resolutions, one to approve the adding of 3 new properties to the Demo 2.0 list to the land bank. Trustees, any discussion on that issue?
Which three properties?
They're attached to the resolution.
Okay, I mean, the fact that we just got this evening, I haven't had a chance to look at it, so, you know, I mean, there's no prior ability to be prepared to meet.
We didn't have the approval as of Friday
Didn't have the approval of what, buddy?
to add the properties. We thought we did, so we put it on the schedule so you could look at it over the weekend. But we didn't know for sure till yesterday. So I couldn't have put the properties on there.
Yeah, 5100 Derby, 5157 Fortman, and 5099 Altram.
So one of the properties we talked about, a gentleman came in, I don't remember his name, wasn't his property on Third Street that he was complaining about, and I put that one on here.
That one was set aside.
Okay. These are three properties, okay, these are three properties to be added to, we took that one off, set aside, you're correct, okay, thank you.
Any other discussion on the nuisance properties, or the demo properties? Okay, next on the agenda, Mr. Wolf pushed out an email to the trustees wanting to set up a schedule for budget sessions to start setting up next year's budget. Mr. Wolf, do you have those dates?
Which of those dates? They were emailed to all of you, because I wanted you to check your schedule. But the first meeting, or work session for the trustees to talk about the 2022 budget would be the fire budget, which is September 14th. I apologize. That was wrong. It'd be October 12th, and that would be fire only for that day. And then October 26th,
Work session,
all work sessions.
okay,
October 26th will be the sheriff office and general. The November 9th would be the road budget. And wrap up, in other words, tie up loose ends would be on Tuesday, November 23rd.
November 23rd.
Yeah. And
Is
then
that later Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving's on a Thursday, or Thursday. I'm sorry, I apologize, it's the week before, Thanksgiving's the week before. So the 28th of, I'm sorry, it's the week of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's the 25th, and some recognize it as the 26th, so the 23rd. Then that gives trustees 2 weeks till the next trustee meeting, which is December 7th, to decide if you want to pass the permanent budget. At which time you can do that, or you can defer it, you can go back to studying it. But I'm trying to get the fiscal officer at least 25, 30 days to be able to file the final budget to the county by the end of the year.
So just so you know, I can't file the final budget until the previous budget is closed out.
Because coming to the year, you give a date, remember, sir, you're right, give a date that I'm stopping all bills. Get everything to me ahead of this, blah, 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 stop everything, we have a dead time. And right, once this 2021 closes out, and you can do. So, but a little communication there, so he just wants to we want to prepare the budget.
Correct.
You can't put it in UAN for the first year, but we still approve it?
Yep.
Yeah, you can approve it.
Okay.
Again, it'll be the same thing, you approve a final budget, you'll have to do resolutions to change stuff, because you don't have all the exact numbers until the budget from the previous year is closed out.
Makes sense.
So you still have to do resolutions, changing the amount, you'll be close, but you still have to make changes. Because you don't know how much you're gonna have from the end of the year. So after it's closed out.
You have the loose ends on November 23rd, that'd be a special meeting in November, isn't our regular meetings the 2nd and 16th?
Correct, so it'll be a work session on the wrap-up. You're not voting that night.
I'm talking about you said loose ends, tying up loose ends on November 23rd.
Right. Which
That makes
is a work
sense.
session.
No, tie up loose ends was.
Yeah, during the work session, there's no regular meeting that night.
Correct, so you wouldn't vote on it until the 7th of December in case there's, like it
Well,
was last
I'm
year.
trying to avoid having a special meeting to pay for the extra payment. I'm trying to save money and not pay for the extra advertising and everything for a special meeting that week anyway.
Well, if you remember, trustees, and it's just my suggestion to do it this way, is last year you went through 5 budget meetings and didn't dissolve it, didn't agree to anything. You went to
That's not,
you went to the closeout meeting.
right, that's not the
And
point I'm making. The point I'm making
you went
is,
and took a temporary budget. So
Anyway,
all the
those
work
things
that
are
was
going on.
done, all the work that was done, trustees, and all those other 5 meetings went out the window. So either you're gonna hold budget meetings, or you're gonna adopt just a temporary budget that's thrown again. That's you guys' decision on how you wanna handle your money.
Mr. Wolf, you sent out a message that said October 26th is the fire budget, November 9th is the police budget, general fund budget, November 23rd is the road budget, November 30th is the final budget overall meeting.
those are.
Those dates changed to today, so they asked me for the dates today. And that's what I'm asking them to adopt.
Because you had said you sent us out in the email, so that's what
I
I.
didn't to get them thinking about their schedule, but
Well, at one of these work sessions that you have scheduled is a special work session that we have to advertise for and cost the township money. We can't incorporate that into an existing meeting like, okay, so instead of October 12th, you make it Tuesday before, October 5th.
your average budget meetings were running 3 to 3.5 hours last year. So if you think you can get it done in 3.5 hours and conduct a meeting, then you do it.
You already called it a work session, if it's a special meeting, just open it up as, if you're gonna do that, and make one ad for all of it. Make them special meetings so we can have participation and make it an open meeting instead of a work session. We can't make a decision in a work session anyway.
That's trustee's decision.
Yeah.
I caution you that other communities don't do it that way because you have to actually sit around and look at each other and talk about numbers. And you can't do that with interruption. Public can sit in any work session and listen.
Well, I suggest that you start working on the budget before you come to the meeting as well, and not go through each line at the meeting. Just my input, whether it makes anything.
Okay, well, I think trustees, you've seen some proposed dates. We can, we've got time to call these meetings or not. So I think we've spent enough time on that this evening.
So, my comment to you is, I can't make all those meetings. So just so you know, if you don't need me there, I'm fine.
Well, another note needs to be added in there in that, different than tonight and other meetings, we get the paperwork days in advance prior to the meeting, so we have time to be ready for the, talking about money and the budget. Instead of handing the budget to us when you come into the meeting, I'm not prepared. So there needs to be verbiage in there. If you don't put the verbiage in there, then we'll have one reason or another, the computer wasn't working, I didn't have the information, blah, 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 and he handed us the paperwork the night of the meeting. This happens time and time again.
Well, the budget cycle comes at us every year at the same time of year, Mr. McGough.
That's correct, and last year we had a copy of the appropriations for a budget, so we got presented for a budget.
So, I guess what the department heads need to cascade out to the employees is this is the time if you want to ask for capital equipment expenditures, major repairs, this is the time to be heard as we carve out the budget. I don't like the fact that we wasted all those meetings last year and didn't get anything done, ran it down to the last minute, and that's pretty much been suit for the last several years. So if we're gonna call a meeting, then come prepared to do business. Next item on the agenda,
Well, we're not
trustees.
finished that, we're not finished discussing that.
What else is there to discuss?
You have to accept the tax budget before you can even start on any of this. And I asked Mr. Wolf, when he was before he put the agenda together, I asked him on September 11th, I sent you guys and the administrator a copy of the tax budget, and in that email, I asked the administrator to put that on the agenda so it can be discussed tonight, so that we can get that approved. It's the same type of thing we do every year around this time. It needs to be approved so the county can get our money ready to be ready for the beginning of the year. That is the initial thing you have to have, the revenue that's coming in, the estimated tax rate.
So you're saying the certificate of
What I
estimated
just
resources?
said, what I just said.
Is that what you're
It's a
saying?
tax budget, not a certificate of estimated resources. It's a tax budget. The certificate of estimated resources comes out in February, the beginning of the year. This is the estimated tax budget. It's based on what was giving, what we had last year, mostly. And then we add a few, this actually was just what was based on last year, the levies. You have a copy, I sent it to you in the mail. I sent it to you previously so that you guys can look it over and have questions at this meeting, but it did not get on the agenda. The agenda didn't come out till the 17th of September. I sent this email on the 11th. Did Mr. Wolf just decide he wasn't gonna put it on there on his own? Or did one of you trustees tell him not to put it on there? Because I thought this was the trustees' agenda. There's no answer? Okay,
I
fine.
had no communication in that, topic. I'd say that for myself.
There's nobody's gonna answer that, so. As far as I wanna say one more time, the tax budget must be approved before we start this. You can't do anything if you don't know how much money you're gonna have. Or at least an estimate, and this is just an estimate.
Okay. Well, trustees, decide whether or not you want to have budget meetings. Next on the agenda, tentative date for Beggars Night. We need to get that settled. Is there, we need to do a resolution?
A resident had sent a message asking, what the date was so they could schedule it, so, you don't need a resolution, you just appoint a date and vote on it.
It looks to me like either the Friday or Saturday night, either the 30th or the 31st would be the choice. Correct?
First is Sunday.
I said 30th or 31st, Friday or Saturday. Like,
31st is Sunday, isn't it?
oh, you're right, it is, okay, yeah, okay. So, the 30th, Saturday night the 30th?
We can have it anytime we want, when you want to have it.
Sounds good to me. We see what the weather's doing.
You have to take the vote in the regular meeting, but other than that, just pick a date.
Okay.
Okay, looks like
That last
this
was a
is,
duplication.
it looks like that's a duplication.
Yep.
All right, any other new business for tonight, trustees? for this work session.
Trustee McGuire. I also submitted a resolution that did not get on the agenda regarding transfer of funds to pay our tax collection fees. It's not on the agenda. Can I get it on the agenda tonight so that I can pay a bill? It's not in the agenda, it's not in your package because,
You have a copy of it?
yes, I have a copy of it.
You had a chance to make enough to pass around? And
I didn't,
it's like, what I'm
because
talking-
I didn't know that if you guys were gonna allow it to be on the agenda.
I'm okay
It's
with it.
just transferring of funds to pay the bills. It has to do with, where we have to pay tax collection fees. And we have to remember that each year to do this, it mostly affects the general funds because, at the beginning of the year, it was reduced, and now we have to add that money back in.
If your resolution state where it's coming from, where it's going to.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay, we'll bring it up in new business, and then you want to get copies ready for the next meeting. Let's see if we can work it in. Trustees, any objection to that?
When you say the next meeting, you're meeting here in half hour.
Correct. Any other new business, trustees? Okay, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. McLaughlin is seconded. We are adjourned at 6:31 PM.
That's the resolution. If you have it in your hand.